dig up a past I swore would stay buried.
You will always be a monster.
Ares! I have nothing more to hide.
The ghost of Sparta had been born.
So, a few months ago, I uploaded a video where I talked about the upcoming of Christ in God of War. To summarize things for you, in a proposed storyline for God of War 3, developers initially planned for Kratos to meet his Norse and Egyptian counterparts, Tyr and Montu, after destroying the Greek pantheon, leading to witnessing the birth of Christ as the three wise men from Christianity. Thankfully, this idea was discarded, resulting in the masterpiece that is God of War 3. However, there's a belief that Santa Monica Studios might still explore a Christian theme in future games. It is widely believed in the God of War community that the realm tier in Odin's basement is a gateway to the higher realm of existence. After all, the light emitting from the realm tier and the mask has the same color and glow which Athena radiated after her death and after her ascension. And we know Athena has been to the higher plane of existence.
My sacrifice to save Zeus has brought me to a higher existence.
And from what we have seen in the God of War comics and heard from Odin's description of the realm tier,
Feels like knowledge, truth.
All truth. All the answers. I saw something. The rift. Possibly the birthplace of reality. I looked inside and something was there looking back at me. It whispered to me things I couldn't possibly comprehend, but I knew they were true.
and Cory Barlog, who pretty much is a founding father of God of War, talking about it.
What I was setting up in 2 was this idea that Athena had died and was the first person in the pantheon of gods to actually have a selfless act, to die from a selfless act. So she had kind of ascended to this higher level, and then at first she's somewhat altruistic and being like, hey, wow, okay, I did pretty good. But then she starts to realize, wait a minute, I can actually affect the rest of the world. I don't want anybody else to get up here.
It seems that this higher plane of existence seems to be a realm that is inhabited by powerful deities that hold infinite and incomprehensible knowledge. What realm is there that is inhabited by powerful deities that hold infinite, incomprehensible knowledge and is itself incomprehensible and has a name that originates from Greece? Like I've said before, the realm behind the tier, the higher plane of existence, sounds much like Pleroma from Gnostic mythology. Pleroma being a heaven as in a state of being full, and guess what? Pleroma means fullness or being full in Greek. And for those who don't know, Gnosticism is a heresy of Christianity. Wait a second, you don't believe me that the higher plane of existence is Pleroma? Then maybe this will help convince you. In Gnosticism, accessing Pleroma involves a deep inner journey, self-awareness, and understanding of the divine aspects within oneself. It's about achieving a higher state of consciousness, transcending the limitations of the material realm, and reconnecting with the divine reality. Gnostic teachings often stress the importance of shedding attachments to the material world, including desires, illusions, ego-driven pursuits, and being selfless. Who does that sound like to you? To me, it sounds like Athena. She was focused on shedding attachments to the material world, letting go of mortal-like attachments. And she even tried to help Kratos realize that he had done the same.
It is done. You have let go of that which made you mortal. Your ties to this world are severed. You are ready to be a god.
Is this all a game to you, Athena?
And who else other than Athena, the goddess of wisdom, would understand the divine aspects within herself? It makes sense that the only other god we see in the higher plane of existence in the God of War comics is Thoth, another god of wisdom. And we know for a fact, towards the end of her death, Athena was selfless. It sure does sound like the higher plane of existence is Pleroma. Again, The realm tier in Odin's basement is believed to lead to a higher realm inhabited by powerful deities with infinite knowledge, akin to Pleroma from Gnostic mythology, a heaven of supreme intellect, aka the higher plane of existence. Now here is the interesting part. In Gnosticism, it was believed that the most powerful being in the universe was called the monad. He wasn't a god, but rather a vast intellect or awareness. And as the monad began to consider its own existence, it gave birth to entities known as eons. These eons all lived in Pleroma and harmony until, without the permission of the monads, a sordid and repulsive eon known as Yaldabaoth, or the Demiurge, was birthed. The Demiurge might have created the pantheon's unflawed entities in the God of War universe. It created evil, fear, and corruption, but it was countered by the monad's gift to humanity with the power of hope. Sounds familiar?
When you opened the box, you released the evils to the gods. Infected them. Changed them. Zeus himself fell prey to the dark evils. This is why he became so enraged and obsessed with your death. He was consumed by the evil, fear. I thought the power I placed in the box was never released. All these years I assumed you drew from the evils inside to destroy Ares. But I was wrong. The power you took from the box is mine. From it, you gained the strength that Zeus could never destroy. A strength great enough to overcome fear. Locked deep inside of you, Kratos, is hope.
Athena wanted that power of hope in God of War 3, but Kratos used it to counteract the fear Zeus was corrupted by in the game. Why did Athena want the power of hope? Cory Barlog said it himself. After her ascension, she became corrupt. She wanted all the power for herself. So maybe she wanted the power of hope to overcome the monad. Or maybe even use it to help the monad defeat the Demiurge so that she can take his place. Who knows? Anyway, everything we have seen so far points to something similar to this. The Demiurge could be the greatest God of War villain of all time, a being that is trapped within its own creation, the physical universe, an entity that drove Odin insane by the things it whispered to him. You see, in Gnostic cosmology, the Demiurge is often depicted as a subordinate or lesser divine being who operates within the material world and is responsible for creating the flawed physical universe. Gnostic teachings often present the Demiurge as a figure trapped within its own creation. So it would make sense that Yaldabaoth, the Demiurge, would tempt Odin to try and open the rift, so that he may be freed from the physical world that he is trapped from. Its actions are influenced by ignorance and a false belief in its own ultimate authority. The Demiurge might want access to Pleroma to seize control of it just as it controls this material realm. After all, in Gnostic myth, Yaldabaoth is depicted as a being unaware of the higher divine reality beyond the material world. He has an idea of the higher plane of existence, but does not completely apprehend it. The Demiurge doesn't fully understand what Pleroma is, and so it makes sense that it would be interested in the rift, interested in opening it, interested in being free from the material world and understanding more of the higher realm of existence to take authority over it too. But that's not all. You see, in Gnostic myth, the monad is aware of the Demiurge. He is aware of its influence, and so the monad dispatches 2 eons to release mankind from Yaldabaoth's, or the Demiurge's, clutches. And you'd be surprised to learn that those 2 eons are Jesus and the Holy Spirit. So in the end, Kratos may indeed witness the birth of Christ with Tyr and Montu by his side. The similarities between post-Ragnarok Norse mythology and Christianity are quite surprising actually. In Norse mythology, the Norse gods got their immortality from the apples of Eden, from Eden's orchard. Without these apples, the Norse gods grew weak, old, and feeble. It would explain why God didn't want Adam and Eve eating the forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden, aka Eden's orchard, and why Adam and Eve ended up living to about 1,000 years old when they did eat the apple of Eden. Not to mention, there are legit giants in the Bible. Nephilim. These could be the Jotnar from Norse myth. In God of War, we don't see the giants or the Jotnar. We are still waiting to see what happens to them in future God of War games, so this lines up perfectly. Also, the Leviathan that God slays could also be Jormungandr. In Revelation, the beast from the sea draws strong similarities to Jormungandr and the other beast to Fenrir. The possibilities are endless. In fact, the beginning of Gnosticism starts with the liberation of the Jews from the tyrannical boot heel of literally Lucifer by a dude with a sick beard and an empire whose state religion is practically defying moral absolutism with regards to defined figures. This dude with a sick beard is also really cool about the Jews going back to their holy land and worshipping their monotheistic god. Who does this sound like? Kratos, of course. The Jews even appoint him as their messiah. In reality, this is actually Cyrus the Great, but you see where I'm coming from. Anyway, shout out to messiahs in mythology. Now, for the argument that Kratos cannot possibly witness the birth of Christ, since God of War Ragnarok takes place in the ADs and not the BCs, so Christ has already lived and died, I say to you, you don't know that. The timing of Ragnarok in Norse mythology isn't explicitly linked to any specific historical calendar, such as the birth of Christ. Norse mythology, including the events of Ragnarok, predates Christianity and the establishment of the modern calendar by many centuries. Ragnarok is a mythological event within Norse cosmology, existing within its own narrative framework and distinct from historical events or timelines tied to our modern calendar. Therefore, it's not placed in a specific time period that aligns with events like the birth of Christ, which occurred much later in history compared to the origins of Norse mythology and the stories of Ragnarok. I know that when the Vikings worshipped the Norse gods, Christianity was already a thing, but the Vikings could have been worshipping dead gods. I don't see why that's a problem. It's not like they have ever actually seen them. They could simply be worshipping the Norse gods after reading shrines and scriptures of them, you know? Besides, according to Corey Barlog, God of War 2018 and Ragnarok take place in the pre-Viking era when the gods roamed the earth, and any time before the birth of Christ is pre-Viking era to me. The Norse gods also obviously don't roam the earth anymore since they are dead. That's it. Before you leave, consider joining the channel as a member. Join with demigod status to gain access to the Gods of War Council, where we can discuss your theories, ideas, and more. Other than that, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more content just like this. And tell me what you think of this crazy theory down below.